Good, how are you? Good morning. Good morning. Can I have five?
Hey, there is how to run.
Yeah, I'll run this moment.
I saw you went scissors and then you went. I was like, well, this
Say no way. Justin and I have a gentleman's agreement. Look at that. On any of the allegations. We got him real bright over his arm, sure. And he has to wear it. He's worn it once. And then he went home to be a Columbia expensive Alabama. He's got A's everywhere. I've had to wear blood.
Good morning, Park. Yeah, that's my follow-up, but you go fishing.
Hey, we went one time with Secretary at a bar.
Yes, sir.
The fellow come on the radio and he said, 18 degrees. I said, good night for anybody who went fishing.
How are you? I'm good.
So you've been doing
I'm all right.
Hey, check the trip he took over there when they went to Thailand. Favorite was his guide and his brother Linger's son. Yeah, I know. That was, he's our longest mission that we've been supporting him on first. Yeah.
Oh.
Good. How are you? Hey,
I really do. Yeah, the thing is, they don't
Jason used to be a party day before we run him on.
Yeah, you do. They couldn't show up.
So I don't know if he let you.
Sit down in the lobby. Well, it's Ariel was here a minute ago. Sarah somewhere. They're running around.
I thought I saw Sarah follow Boston in time or something.
Probably.
I thought that, sir. I just saw her back.
Yeah, Sarah, she's 7. Ariel is 3. Well, we took it from the Bible. Everybody says, oh, the purpose. No, it's actually
So how are things today?
They're good. Kind of revamped a little bit. We're actually changing our schedule already. They've been doing that 1 o'clock for quite a while. But we're lucky if we get 15 people back.
Like we do.
Yeah, we had they used to have 5 o'clock. We can have maybe 20, 25, trying to do 1 o'clock, 10, 15 people. Now we're trying something new.
What are you trying to do?
And so what we decided on is kind of really what they do in Singapore is we'll have our worship and Bible class at worship going to be at Bible class at 11 to 12. But from about 9:15 to 9:45, we're going to have each Sunday is going to be something different. So it's going to be a practical application. So like first Sunday is going to be worship and evangelism, card writing, and we'll get together, get a plan of doorknob together. You go here, and then after we do that, we'll write cards and things like that. Our second Sunday is going to be song leader practice and learning new songs. Third Sunday, I'm doing specialized topics and answering Bible questions. Fourth Sunday is going to be just prayer. We're just going to pray for the whole 30 minutes for different things. And then fifth Sunday, whenever we have the fifth Sunday, since it's 4 times a year, it's going to be for our teachers to get new material, talk about books to use and things like that. And so it'll be a practical.
You won't have anything in the afternoon.
Not after, it will end at 12.
You know, a lot of congregations change.
Yeah, our evening has been we're going to try this and hopefully get people in there. And that worked.
What y'all do?
So, what I was telling them, our Sunday evening, like 5 o'clock didn't work. 1 o'clock, we're lucky we have 15 people come back. And so we're switching it, starting in March. I put the schedule out of what's going to happen, and March is when it started. But it's kind of like what they do in Singapore, where they have a practical thing first or after. And so we're going to have our worship at 10 to 11, Bible class from 11 to 12. But from 9:15 to about 9:45 in the morning beforehand, we're going to have just a practical thing we're going to do. And I was telling them we're going to do something different each Sunday. Like first Sunday is door knocking plans, writing cards, evangelism. Second Sunday is song leader practice and learning new songs. Third Sunday is going to be
Sorry, you gotta hug him.
Third Sunday is going to be I'm going to answer Bible questions or a specialist topic if you have a problem. Fourth Sunday is going to be we're going to pray for 30 minutes together, and then fifth Sunday is going to be for teachers, talk about new books, things like that. Anyway, it's something practical we get more involved in.
Jeff started afternoon worship service, started being kind of not it's a worship service, but it's also questions.
Yeah, it's the art
I'll
of
be
speaking.
speaking and he can, you can communicate.
Yeah, that's what our revenue is. Yeah, it's more like a Bible.
Yeah.
Anyway, we just hardly got anything.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, they hardly.
And it's kind of kept people away.
Yeah. But this, we're just trying to figure
Around us, we can
We're trying to figure out how can we best use our time. Our afternoon is going to be the best use of our time. So we're hoping this will get people, and not just to attend, but to be more involved.
Yeah.
It's a part of it.
What are you doing?
Sorry. Our before, so we have our worship and Bible class that we'll do, but from about 9:15 to 9:25 each Sunday, we're going to do something different. So I was telling them, like the first Sunday is going to be planning for door knocking and who we can visit, writing cards for the sick and things like that. Second Sunday, we're going to do song leader practice and training, practice new songs and things like that. Third Sunday is for Bible questions or just special things. Someone needs me to answer something. Our fourth Sunday is just going to be prayer. We'll just pray together for the 30 minutes, and then fifth Sunday we'll talk about extra material and class stuff. And anyway, hopefully have some practical use and get people involved with some things too. So we'll see how it goes. We're planning to start in March. Yeah. Yeah, well, I told the elders, I said, y'all need to, this month, February, because we're starting in March, y'all need to get up every Sunday and tell the congregation, you need to be here. And if they respect your eldership, they will be here. And like, make it known, this is not a suggestion, this is not an if you feel like it, be here. Yeah, this is what we're doing, and we're waiting. Hopefully it'll
Started back started the nursing home.
You don't realize that it's important. And then we started doing some.
Okay, if everybody would have a seat. Y'all enjoy class. Enjoy class. Okay, good to see everybody here today. Glad we do have some decent weather. Last week was worse. Today it's cold, but I mean, we got jackets we can put on as long as it's not any ice on the road. But glad to see everybody, and we're excited. I'm excited. I don't know how many of you remember when Jason was here several years ago and worked with us, but we scheduled him for these 4 days of gospel meetings, and we're excited about today. The class is going to be on his work in Singapore, and the work over there, and he's going to talk about it today. We're not going to take up any more of his time, but he's working with the work in the church in Eldridge at this time. He and Danielle and family, and that's where Justin is this morning. So we kind of switching out. So, but we're glad to see him. I won't hold any more time, take any more of his time, because I want him to tell you about his work. And one thing I will mention, I just found this out. Come on in, Laura.
Thank you.
Brother Lingry, many of you know him. He's passed away. He and his wife. We've been working with him, I guess, ever since I can remember. A missionary over in Asia, Laos, even Vietnam over there. His son-in-law, Samrick, who's we support now, was there in driver and interpreter when they were over there. So that's something that we didn't know. So that's exciting. It's exciting with that context. And I wish you'd known that. Of course, you can still correspond, I know, with him. So. Okay, let's have a prayer, and then I'm going to turn it over from bow with me, please. Father, we're grateful for this beautiful day today, grateful for blessing us with a good day and able to come and worship you. And we pray, Father, that you'll bless Jason and his family as they travel back and forth with us. Pray that much good will come from it. And as we have our plans of this year's make heaven crowded, Father, that's all needs to be our mission for all of us, Father. Help us as we have this meeting, help us to try our best to invite and come ourselves and encourage. Bless Jason and give him a good remembrance of what he's going to say this morning. In your blessed Son's name I pray. Amen. Brother Jason.
All right, so good to be with everyone back here at Cottondale. There we go. It's been a little while since we've been this way, but so thankful for any opportunity to be back here. And as Dupree mentioned, we're going to talk this morning about some of the work that I've been doing in Singapore. Our topic for this week, for this meeting, as was mentioned with the idea of making heaven crowded, centering around evangelism and things like that. And so they'd asked me if I would present some material on the things that I've been doing over in Singapore and the surrounding areas. And so I was happy to be able to do that. And of course, the congregation here has supported this work since I've been involved with it and been a very good supporter of this work. And so excited to let you see some of the things that are taking place, not only in Singapore. This last year was also able to go to Malaysia. I've been there several times, but then this was the first time that myself and several others were able to go to Thailand. And as he mentioned, to see Brother Sam Reed and to be able to help encourage the brethren there. And so just a little bit about, if you're not exactly familiar with what I do in Singapore, I do work with the Four Seas College of Bible and Missions. I still serve online as an instructor for the school, and I also serve as their Dean of Academics. And so a lot of things that I do in teaching-wise is I teach the different books of the Bible, and sometimes people ask what I teach, and sometimes I think it's easier to say which books I don't teach because I teach everything from Exodus through Deuteronomy. I teach right now, I'm in a class of Job all the way through Song of Solomon, and so trying to get all that in one little half term is quite difficult to get Job, Psalms, Proverbs, all that in there together. I teach pretty much all the prophetic books from the major prophets, minor prophets, Revelation, things like that. I teach the Gospels from Matthew to Luke, Acts, Romans. I teach Galatians through Colossians, 1st and 2nd Peter, and a little bit of everything in between. So I teach a lot for the different books of the Bible. I've come off of that a little bit just because since I'm working with Eldridge full-time now, I don't have time to teach full-time for the school. And so some of those classes have, of course, decreased over time. But still thankful to be able to work with them online. It's been a great work. I enjoy the work with the school there and the trips that I get to make out there to Singapore. And so this is going to talk a little bit about this last trip that we made this past November into the start of December for about 3 weeks was the length of this trip. And what's on the screen here, this is actually the first time I've been to this part of Singapore. It's kind of interesting. Singapore's not that big. It's just a little small island, and the whole island is a city. And yet this was a place that I've never been until this past trip. This is the Merlion. That's their national symbol, is this lion with a mermaid's tail. And I'll give you the history of that. Singapore comes from the word Singapura, which means land of the lion. And so whenever Singapore was discovered, the one who discovered it was on a ship, and there was a great storm that was taking place, and he was worried about being shipwrecked and things like that, and was looking for land. And whenever he looked out, he saw the land that's now called Singapore, and he believed that he saw a lion walking across the shore. And so Singapura, land of the lion. And that eventually morphed into what you see with the lion with the mermaid's tail and became the Merlion, who is now their national mascot. And so pretty interesting to see that. That's, of course, a big tourist attraction there with a lot of people there in the downtown area of Singapore. And as we look at this trip, this was the group of us that went this year. On the far left there is Billy Bland, one of the instructors at the Memphis School of Preaching. He also serves as the Dean of Public Relations for the Four Seas School. He's been with them for 20, 30 years now, working with the school. Next to him is Jamie Long. He's a preacher there in Eldridge also, just down the road from us, and he preaches at Barn Creek. Of course, myself there in the middle. Back behind me there is Tim Hayes. Preacher and elder over at the Logan Martin congregation over on the other side of Birmingham. Next to him is Jonathan Burns. He's our tech guy. He preaches up in Findlay in Tennessee at the Findlay Church of Christ, and he's the one who does all of our electronic things while we're there. And so he has a great digital mission that he does in preparing videos and taking material from the past years and turning them into digital formats and things like that, and does a great job with it. He runs all of our PowerPoints and live streaming for what we do at the lectureship and things like that. And a funny story about Jonathan is because of all this technological stuff that he has with him, means you have a lot of cords and wires with you. Whenever we were going to Malaysia, Jonathan got stopped when they were checking bags, and they saw all the wires in his bag. Of course, you have wires in a bag in an airport. It's not the best thing to have. And so they started telling him, you need to take all the wires out of your bag. And Jonathan laughed. He said, you don't want me to do that. And they said, no, you need to do that. So he starts pulling. By the time he got to about 20 wires out, and there's still another 30 left, they said, "Don't worry about it." I said, "That's enough." They said, "I told you. It's just cables for computers." And then the last one on the right there is Tim Burrows. He is over in Mississippi at Luxahoma. And that congregation over at Luxahoma is actually the ones who served as my sponsoring congregation they serve as that for my work there in Singapore. And so that was the group of us that went. One other showed up later, Scott Kane, who is the preacher at the Forest Hill congregation in Memphis and worked with the Memphis school also. He and his wife Melissa actually met us there a couple of weeks later for the actual lectureship. That's the group of us that traveled over there to Singapore when we arrived. And so our first thing that we did after we rested for a day or two in Singapore, we then got ready to go over to Malaysia. And so we went from Singapore over to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And so Singapore's down there at the south end of Malaysia, and then we just took a really short flight up to Kuala Lumpur. It's basically like flying from Birmingham to Atlanta. You go up and right back down. And so a very short flight to get out there. But then from Kuala Lumpur is kind of where we would spread out to some different portions there in Malaysia. And so I include this because it's a funny story. Billy Bland is the one who ordered our transportation when we got to Malaysia. And when we got out, our driver met us and started taking us out to where the van was. And you see all these vans that are prepared, all these nice black vans, white vans, normal looking ones. I saw this one at the very end, and I thought, surely not. We kept walking, and he opened up the door. And I said, "Brother Bland, what did you order?" And he said, "I didn't know it'd be like this." Anyway, it was a nice pink and green, kind of a little psychedelic type of van there. That was fun. We had a good time riding in that out to our hotel. And we told Billy Bland he is not allowed to order transportation again. We'll get someone else to do that next time. But this picture here, this is Malaysia. Okay? Malaysia is traffic. That's all it is. There's so many vehicles on the really long amount of time. Sometimes I like to mention how from our house where we live to Eldridge where I preach is about a 20-minute drive on the highway. If I was to try to make that drive in Malaysia, it would probably take me an hour and a half to get there. That's how bad the traffic is. And depending on the rush hours and things like that, I mean, you're in traffic for 2 hours or longer to get a very short distance. And so it's kind of a strange experience, not going very far, but being stuck so much in traffic. I remember one time I was being driven to a congregation for the Bible class, and Bible class started at 7. They said, "We'll pick you up at about 4. And I said, 4? And they said, "Yeah, don't worry, it'll be okay." I said, "Okay." I thought maybe we'll eat or something like that. No, it was because of the traffic. And we got in a deadlock, and his wife just kind of kicked back the seat that she was in and laid out. And I said, different shops and things like that. And the churches here will just buy one little portion of that. And that's where the building will be located. So a very small building, but again, they've renovated the inside, so it's pretty nice. This is looking going into the building there at Subang Jaya. And this is what it looks like on the inside. And so it's kind of just one long hallway is what those buildings will look like. And as I mentioned, they have renovated this, and so it looks a lot nicer than it does on the outside. A lot of the surrounding area there in Subang Jaya is very poor, and so kind of a rough-looking place. But inside, very nice church building there with those brethren. And so while we were there at Subang Jaya, we were preaching some lessons on restoration. Brother Billy Bland did a lesson on restoration history, kind of how the church got started back, especially in the U.S. and spread from there. And I did some principles going back to the Bible about restoration. I had a good meeting with those brethren, maybe 15 to 20 members, and so a very small place there. All right, so this is Brother Bland speaking there. This is one of the brothers there who was doing our scripture reading and also leading some songs while we were there at Subang Jaya. All right, so the next day, on Saturday, again from Kuala Lumpur, we went out to a place that's called the Klang Church of Christ. And this whole area is called the Klang Valley. This is where we do a lot of our mission work, is in that whole area there. And so while Brother Bland and I are at Subang Jaya, some of the others are in other places in the Klang Valley.
But Klang is kind of the center point. This is the largest congregation in this area. And so what they do every year is they have an end-of-year seminar. And so we all came together to speak at that seminar. And all the local congregations then come over there to the Klang Church for that seminar. And so this is the Klang Church of Christ. They're building there. So they are one of the only churches here that have an actual building. Most of the churches, like I said, are kind of thrust into those strip areas, but the Klang Church does have their own building that they've built. And so here we are on the inside of that building, and again, you can see how much larger it is. Much larger congregation. You're talking closer to 100 members, and so again, a lot of good done there. And at this Bible seminar, their theme this past year was dealing with technology and the Christian. And so we dealt with different topics of the use of AI for Bible study, talked about different Bible programs and things like that. My lesson that I did was on parenting in the digital age. And so I dealt a lot with how do we deal with our kids and technology because it's very difficult with how quickly things change and get even more complex. And so a lot of technology things we discussed there. And so, of course, Jamie Long, again, he was preaching there. Billy Bland also. Tim Burrows was there. And then myself. I like to include pictures of myself so you know I was actually there. Didn't just make it up, I was present. And so I did preach there at the Klang congregation there. And then on Sunday, back from Kuala Lumpur, I went to a place called Sheras, which is there, you can see a short distance from Kuala Lumpur. And so you kind of see the area that we've been going to throughout all of this. But Sheras is a very small congregation also. Again, in one of these long strips there, you just have a building thrust right in the middle of it. And so same idea as we saw with Subang Jaya. But this is the congregation there. Again, you can tell on the inside it's very nice. Whenever you look at the outside of this building, you get out of the car and you're like, where am I? I don't need to be here. And yet you go inside and you go, oh, this is really nice. And they've done a lot of renovation and things like that. And again, Sheras is like Subang Jaya, a very poor area. And so also a very small congregation, maybe about 20 to 25 members that were there. And so good brethren. And it's kind of funny. They, of course, provided lunch for me that afternoon after we finished, and guess what we had? Domino's pizza. But guess what was on that pizza? Not American toppings, I can tell you that. There was one that was somewhat normal, but they like to put a lot of other things on pizza that we normally do not. Different types of meats and fish and shrimp and chili sauces and things like that. Which I don't mind. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it is a little bit different. But they also let me, they found out that I don't mind eating durian. And if you don't know what durian is, I should have included a picture of it. Durian, it's this little green spiky fruit, and you cut it open and you got these little segments in it. And it's been described, I think it was Ira Rice that described it this way. He said it's like eating ice cream in a sewer. Extremely sweet fruit, but smells awful. And technically, I don't mind the smell. I'm one of the few people that does. It just doesn't bother me. But just to let you know how bad it can be, whenever you're in Singapore, for example, you are not allowed to have durian on the train system. You are not allowed to bring durian into your hotel. And you cannot bring it on a plane because of the smell of it. And it was kind of funny because I ate the durian for lunch then. Whenever we were leaving from Malaysia to go back to Singapore, I got to the ticket lady there. And, of course, you could smell it on my hands from eating it. And I was putting my bag on the thing that they weigh the bags with. And she all of a sudden kind of snapped up and looked at me. And she said, "Do you have durian in your bag?" I said, "No, ma'am, I just ate it for lunch, I promise." But she was about to not let me on that plane because she thought I had durian. And so it's pretty interesting. But anyway, I don't mind durian. A lot of people do not like it. It's kind of a hit or miss thing with it, but interesting thing there. All right, so once we went back to Singapore, again, we flew back to Singapore, stayed there for a day, and then we went out to Thailand. And so this is the flight from Singapore out to Khon Kaen. And so we did fly into Bangkok. And then from Bangkok, we switched over to the local flight to get to Khon Kaen. And of course, from Khon Kaen, we'd actually go a little bit further. But they were talking about maybe a 4 or 5 hour flight from Singapore for that one. And so whenever we got, of course, to Thailand, you look at the airport, it's very nice. You see some things that you would expect from Thailand, elephants everywhere. And so you see a lot of elephant art because that's one of their symbols there for the nation. But also what I found interesting is, of course, the idols that you find. And so this idol god, I don't know what his name is, but you got this statue right there in the middle of the airport. And I don't know if he's supposed to guard the flights or whatever it is, but you'll see things like that when you go to these places of just idols that are everywhere. And so you'll see a couple more things like that as we go through this. But that was there in the airport that we got to in Bangkok. But then we went over to Khon Kaen, so this was some of the welcoming things that we saw in Khon Kaen. But this here on the right side, it was interesting. We kept seeing these shrines everywhere with this woman's picture on them. And so we started to finally ask people, what's going on? What's with all these shrines? And it was their queen. She had recently died whenever we got there. And so they had all these shrines put up to remember the queen that had passed. And they said that they would do this for 30 days, mourning the loss of her. And so it was kind of interesting to see that while we were there. Right, but again, we went to Khon Kaen. And Khon Kaen and the area that we went to of Kalassan is kind of interesting. I didn't know this until we got there. But they are known for dinosaurs. A lot of dinosaur fossils are found in this area. And so you'll see dinosaurs everywhere. It's got statues and paintings and things like that because that's what they're known for, are these dinosaurs. And of course, elephants. You'll see a lot of statues of elephants and art depicting them also. Gives you a very Thailand type of look. And Danielle made me wear my Thailand tie this morning. This is the tie that I got there. This is my tie, as we call it. This is actually a gift from Brother Sam whenever we left. So this is from him. But with Khon Kaen's not where we actually stayed. We actually drove out to a place that's called Kalassan. And so from Khon Kaen, it's not that long of a drive, about an hour closer to the border of Laos is where we actually did our work. This is where Brother Sam is, as was mentioned earlier. And so this is where we were going to spend our time in this gospel meeting while we were there. But Thailand is a very beautiful place. This is from the hotel there in Kalassan. And so again, nice area there. This is us driving through the town of Kalassan. And so Brother Sam, you can see him driving there, taking us around. But then where the church building is, it's a little bit more what you expect from Thailand. Out in the jungle type of area, forested area that's out there is where the actual church building is. And so this was interesting. This is right outside the road where the church building is. Again, another idol god. But you've got these golden mice there. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're supposed to be worshiping the thing or if they're servants of it or what. But anyway, just some strange idol worship that you see. I included this because this was just another funny story. We were taking a picture outside the Kalassan building, and all of a sudden, there was a group of people off on the side who start just stomping on something. Like, what in the world are they doing? Well, go over there, and that's what it was. It was a centipede. Apparently, Thailand is known for giant centipedes that get, you're talking big centipedes that are big and thick. And they said if you get bit by one, it's worse than a snake bite. And so I was glad they stomped on it because they saw that thing and they killed it immediately. And so I'm glad they found it and killed it. But anyway, another thing there in Thailand is watch out for the centipedes. But it's just a different culture. Of course, a lot of motorbikes and things like that, but you can see from the picture, not uncommon to just see a woman carrying a small child on a motorcycle and just driving around, no helmet, no seat belts, anything like that. And it's also very common to see young kids. I mean, we saw some maybe 8, 9 years old riding a motorcycle through the city streets. And you're thinking, okay, but just a different type of culture whenever you get to places like that. So that was kind of interesting to see some of the culture shock there. But we did go and preach at the Classon Church of Christ. And there's about 5 congregations in the Classon area, all very small, and they all came together here at Classon for this meeting that was there. So this is the sign outside of the church building there, of course in the English, but also in the Thai that's there. This was inside, up front, their welcome that they have there. And then this is the outside of the church building. Again, very nice building. Sam's house is actually beside this. And he lives there right next to the church building. But again, very nice building they have where they can have these classes and worship and things like that. I hope this is going to work. I had a video included on this that was of their singing. And it was really neat to hear them singing in Thai. But whenever you hear the tune of the song, you pick up on it pretty well. And of course, sometimes they would have the Thai up top and then the English on the bottom. Sometimes they didn't, just depended on the song, but we'll see. Hopefully that'll work and you'll be able to hear it. I don't know if is there a volume remote for these TVs?
I don't think it's connected to sound.
It's not connected to sound?
They're
Well,
not connected. We have those speakers, but
Yeah.
they're not connected.
all right, well, we'll just have to do without that then. But it's interesting to hear whenever they sing and things like that. Because this is I Know My Redeemer Lives. And once you start to hear the tune of the song, you pick up on it pretty quick. And so it's pretty neat to be able to hear them do that.
You need something on there?
Does that have sound?
It should.
Okay, well, that'd be neat if we could hear that. I'll give you a chance to see it, because it's just a neat experience to hear that from another language. There we go, yeah. Yeah, let me play and see what it sounds like. If it works, it's neat to hear, but that's okay. We'll do with that. But anyway, just being able to...
It'll sound up when you don't expect it.
Yeah, that's right, we'll be coming. I'll blast you out or something. But no, it's neat to be able to hear songs being sung, of course, in their language. But then, of course, you understand the tune of the song and things like that. It was kind of funny. Jamie Long said at one point, he said, "Do y'all catch yourselves singing what they're singing sometimes?" So I don't know what they're singing, the wording of it. But sometimes I catch myself saying what they are, and I don't even know the words. But you pick up on the tune and things like that. And it's kind of interesting to hear you singing in English, they're singing in Thai, and the connection that's there. Pretty neat to experience that. This was the gospel meeting that we had there in the building. And so, of course, they have their place, their auditorium here for their worship and things like that. Off to the side, to the right where those windows are, they do have a small school that takes place in the church building where Sam is helping to train some people in Bible knowledge and things like that that he does in the mornings. And so they have that little school that is over there. And then, of course, there's Brother Sam, who served as one of our interpreters while we were there and did a good job of helping us with that. And this was the outside area that they had there. Really nice place to go and sit and rest in between things there. And so a really nice place there that they had. And so this was us preaching there. There's Brother Jamie with Sam. And Jonathan, the one that he's with, that interpreter, is Brother Sai. At least that's what we call him. I can't pronounce his actual name. But Brother Sai is from Laos. And so he came across to help us with translation and things like that. It was, again, funny. One time we asked Sai, said, "Do you speak Thai?" And he said, "No." He said, "Why are you our translator then?" He said, "Well, Laotian and Thai we can understand each other." I said, "Okay, if you say so." And so Sai was one of our translators. He's a graduate of 4Cs and doing a great work over in Laos. And there's Brother Jonathan Burns, who is there with Sai also. And of course, I also got to do some preaching and teaching while we were there. Had both translators, Sam and Sai, both did some translating for me while we were there. And so a good time with that. I included this also. This was just to let you kind of hear what it's like to speak with a translator. But again, if our sound's not working, not going to work out too well. So I'll just explain it. Basically, when you're going from English and you're having to have it translated, preaching is a lot different. Because you have to speak a sentence or two, let them translate, speak a sentence or two, let them translate. And it's a strange thing because your translator is also preaching, especially Sam. Sam did a great job that whenever you would emphasize a point, you could hear him emphasize it. He was preaching right there along with you. And so it's kind of a neat experience to have that and to hear that transition that's taking place. But again, makes it a little bit different whenever you're actually doing your preaching there. But here we are, here I am rather, with two young men. This is Fluke and Phone, as we call them. Don't know their actual names. That's what they said to be called. And these two young men have started at 4Cs. And so these will be our first students from Thailand, which will be a really good thing because Sam needs some help. And so hopefully these two young men will be able to graduate from 4Cs and be able to go back to Thailand and help Sam with his work there. The two good young men there. Here are some of the men leaders of the congregation that are there in Thailand. And then here was a picture from the meeting that we had. And by the time we got closer to the end of it, we were having to open up the back doors and have people standing outside. That we had so many people coming for this meeting. And so that was a great experience to be there with them. And just to give them some encouragement was the main part, and then also getting some basic Bible to them. Of course, have to include the food. Great food that we had there. A couple of the ladies of the congregation cooked for us each day. A lot of fresh fruit that they grew themselves. The top left, the coffee, of course, good, but the banana bread muffins. You talk about a fresh banana bread muffin. The banana tree was in the yard, and they picked the bananas there and made the bread. And so you talk about something good, very good. But again, a lot of fresh fruit, some stir-fried types of vegetables. They fried some chicken for us, which was very good, and things like that. And so really good meals together while we were there. And so that was our time in Thailand. From then, we then went back to Singapore to finish our work there. And this dealt with the graduation for the students and also for the lectureship that took place and some gospel meetings that we had while we were there. So we did have a farewell dinner for the graduates for the second year class that was leaving. So some of our first year students led prayers and things like that for the second year. This is Brother Peter Chim. He is the director of the school there at 4C. So of course he spoke there. This is Brother Amos. He is one of the elders at the Jurong congregation. And so the Jurong congregation is the one that oversees the school. And so he's one of the elders from there that gave us talk to the students there. And then another one led us in some closing thoughts also. It's a great farewell dinner for them as they prepared for their graduation. So this was the class of 2025 that we had this year. Most were from the Philippines. Starting on the left, you have Lord's Will. We just called him Will, but his name is actually Lord's Will. He's from the Philippines. Next to him is Brave. He is also from the Philippines. In the middle there, you have Sister Mary Ann. She is the wife of one of the preachers in Singapore. And so she came to the school so that she could help her husband in his work by having a better Bible knowledge, which was really admirable for her. And she had to travel an hour and a half there and back every day for school. And so very dedicated, and she was one of our highest GPAs that we had. And so Sister Mary Ann was very good. Next to her is Brother Samuel. He is from Indonesia, and he'll be finishing some of his time in these next few months. You have Brother Jimry from the Philippines and also Brother Wendell on the end there from the Philippines. They also will finish their coursework in June, and so they're wraparounds. So they have a little bit longer to finish. So they graduated, but they had to give their diplomas back until they finished. And so that was our class this year, good class for that. And so this is from the graduation. I served as the Master of Ceremony for the graduation. We had, of course, Brother Peter Chin, who spoke on behalf of the students. Brother Tim Hayes gave an address to the students also. And then Brother Will was the student representative who gave a speech during that graduation. And so here they are receiving their diplomas. And so, again, great group of students who are going to go and do a lot of good work. Sister Mary Ann and Brother Will received our McWhorter Awards, which we give to the students who not only have the highest GPA, but also who showed just good Christian character. And normally, if there's only one lady in the class, we do not give the award. But Mary Ann did such a great job, we said, give it to her anyway. And so she also got the award. Of course, Will got it for the boys. And so a good couple of students there. There they are sitting at their graduation. And here they are with the faculty after that. And so good graduation for the students that were there. So during the lectureship, we had a daily devotional where the second-year students would prepare a devotional, kind of like if you've been to the Memphis School of Preaching lectureship and you have the devotional in the morning and the students prepare those. Same thing there at 4Cs, where these students would prepare those devotionals for the morning. And then there's a picture of their lineup there for the lectureship, and they all did a fantastic job with those lessons that they had. And then for the lectureship, this was the 17th annual 4Cs lectureship. So here's, again, some of the ones who were there speaking from the U.S. Down in the bottom left, you got Scott Kane now included. He did meet us there for the lectureship. And then, of course, I did speak also. And mine was maintaining a Christ-centered identity in a digital age. And so the lectureship this year also dealt with technology, was the main focus of the lectureship. And they all dealt around that. And so that's Brother John Chan. He is one of the elders at Jurong also, and just a token of favor for speaking at the lectureship. But we did have that lectureship. We also had an open forum for 2 days of the lectureship, where the people could submit questions and then they would be answered by the panelists. Brother Ernest on the end there, he's the preacher at the Lima Penn congregation. He kind of acted as an MC for this. Scott Kane and Billy Bland did one of the days of the open forum, and then myself and Tim Hayes did the other day. And they only had one picture of us at the open forum for some reason. Maybe we did a bad job, I don't know. But Tim Hayes has an expression on his face like he has no idea what he's going to say. And so it's kind of like, well, okay. But of course, you can look at the question. If slavery is considered as evil, why was it condoned by Bible authors? A pretty difficult question. And so we dealt with that, talking about the difference in slavery in the Bible and slavery today and things like that. But some really good questions that people asked. And, of course, we would answer those for them. Right, but we also had some gospel meetings while we were there, different places. There's 3 congregations that are there in Singapore: Jurong, where the school is, Lima Penn, and Eastside. And so we kind of scattered and spoke at the different congregations for the gospel meetings during this time there. But we also, of course, had some good times of fellowship, eating together. This is a very common sight in Singapore, is when you go for Chinese food that's there, it's pretty much a family style. There's a big lazy Susan in the middle of the table, and you just spin and get what you want off of the table. And so some good fellowship there. Here we are at another one doing the same thing. This is Brother John and Sister Anna, his wife, and we're having a meal together. This is sour lemon fish soup is what that is. It's actually very good. And it's a more traditional Chinese type of food. And then this was a group that I spent some time with whenever I was living in Singapore. Brother Jerusalem up front there taking the picture, and a couple of the other guys that we would eat together a lot. And so this was kind of a group that it was good to see them again after being away for so long. But we would do this often when I was living there. Right, but this is the picture of the Four Seas lectureship. If I remember correctly, we had about 215 in attendance, maybe 230, and that's been the biggest year so far. It has been growing every year, which is a great thing, as more and more people are in this. There it is, yeah, 230 is what we had. There were 11 different countries represented by this, and the live streaming views of when I put this together was over 17,000. Of course, that's increased a lot by now. So you're talking about a lot of influence, a lot of places affected by the lectureship at Singapore. So a great thing being done there. And then, of course, I did come back home. And I include this for my daughter, Sarah. She loves cats. And I saw this cat on a boat and said, I got to get on that thing. And so that was coming back home for that. All right. That was this trip this year to Singapore, and had a great experience with all of that. Anybody any question or comment that they would like to make regarding those things?
Did you tell me that you couldn't have a coffee pot?
They what?
Did you tell me that there was a lot of bills that would allow you to bring a coffee pot up?
Well, yeah, part of the reason, they had a good reason for it, though. It's because if you plugged in a coffee pot from the U.S. over there, you would blow out the entire building of their electricity, which I technically did with an iron once, because whenever I lived there, I got an iron from Jamie, who had been living there before me, and he said, oh, this iron is fine. I plugged that thing in, and I flipped the switch, the entire unit blew. I mean, the entire blackout, and I told him that iron did not work. So they have very specific energy requirements, and you got to be careful with what you use, because if you don't use the right one, you can cause a big problem.
With so many idols over there, did they ever, was that kind of challenging, or did they give you any troubles?
No, they didn't give us any trouble. Thailand is not too bad. They have pretty free religion there. Laos apparently is very bad. So, for example, for Brother Sai to come over to Thailand, no problem. If we were to try to go to Laos, that would be a big issue, because Laos is much more severe on things like that. So there actually is a school near the border of Laos, but it's in Thailand. So they actually get people from Laos to come to Thailand. They teach them, then they send them back because it's much easier. But yeah, Thailand's not bad. Malaysia's not too bad. Malaysia has a very big Islam community, and so you have to be careful with some things like that. But overall, they're not going to bother you or mess with you unless you cause a problem. And of course, Singapore is about the safest place you can be with freedom of religion and things like that.
You know, one of the things, I heard you say something about the elders at several places. A lot of other countries don't seem like they have the organization in the church. Are they pretty good over there?
Mm-hmm. Singapore is very good. They've got each of the congregations there has elders, and so they've been doing very well. Malaysia, several of them do. Some don't, but again, look, there's still several that do. And Thailand, I know Kalasan did, but some of the other congregations don't because they're so small and don't have enough to be able to do that. But just kind of depending where you are. But overall, I've been surprised with how much leadership there is. You would think there wouldn't be, but a lot of times there is. So it's been very good.
Now, people afford a car. You told me one time when y'all were thinking about going over, it'd be very expensive.
Oh, yeah. In Singapore, it is, because Singapore is so small. They want to restrict how many cars are on the road. And so, like in Singapore, for a 10-year license to have a car, it's going to cost you over $100,000 just for the license. That doesn't include the car. Then you have to buy the car. But like in Malaysia, it's not the same in Malaysia. In Malaysia, cars are very cheap, so everybody's got one. And so that's why their traffic is so bad, because there's no restriction. But in Singapore, there is. It's a little bit different there.
Was that conflict between Cambodia and Thailand sure while you were over there?
It had basically ended right before we got there. There was some questioning of if it would impact us. But Sam said, oh, it's not a big deal. That's on the southern border. We're up north. Yeah. I said, okay. And he said, they do this all the time. It's not a big deal. I said, they shot missiles at each other. He said, not a big deal. So, okay. But no, we had no problems with anything like that. And he said it's just this is what they do every night. It's kind of a show of force. They weren't going to hurt anybody. It's just to let them know, hey, we're still here, which I guess, yeah, it didn't affect us. The kids are begging to come in, so good to talk with y'all about this, and hopefully that was able to get you an idea of the work over in Singapore in that area.
Thank you.
Thank you.